Welcome back, everyone. It's June 15th, 2020. I'm Jerry Hall, and here's the view from Costa Rica. A quick peek at the analytics for the channel. The channel is growing. I am so appreciative to all of you that are taking your time to put your eyeballs on the content that I'm making. The positive response in the metric of subscriptions, thank you for everybody that's subscribing and sharing this with your friends and family, retweeting it on Twitter, sharing comments in Facebook. For those of you that are finding me through the search algorithm on YouTube, hey, thanks for checking it out. Hit that like button if you've gained any value from the content. I put together something today that I think is going to be very helpful. It's basically how I have gotten to the place where I have a glimmer of understanding of how things work. I'm going to share that with you, that process, and then get into some actual meat and potatoes. A micro view. How do digital assets fit into the global economies and capital markets? That's a big statement. And to answer that statement, I say you'd have to have a level of financial literacy and understanding about how things work for you to really understand how digital assets are going to fit into these upcoming economies and the evolution of capital markets. I'll tell you where my journey started. When I got into crypto, it became very clear to me that my understanding of how things really worked, how value was really exchanged, how capital markets operated, I knew very little. My journey in financial literacy really did start with The Hidden Secrets of Money. It's a series created by Mike Maloney, and it's available on YouTube. Keep in mind, Mike is a gold guy. So he kind of draws the narrative, everything back to gold, everything back to gold. And as valid as that is historically, I don't know if that will be the case going forward. But keep in mind, the information that Mike is presenting is extremely sound. There's a historical view of money, how currencies were created, the demise of various currencies, and the reason for those demises. Keep in mind, if you do not understand history and the pitfalls that come from doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results, well, some would call that insanity. Let's move into the next little guy here, Tom Lee from Fun Strat Analysis. These guys are a research company. Tom Lee is a good dude. I found his Upfront Summit 2008 presentation to be incredible because it gave me a macro view of how generations historically have operated in economies. Again, you can apply what we can learn from the past for a framework of where we're going to go tomorrow. Now, if you want some advanced level stuff, Real Vision Finance on YouTube, in particularly, several videos, 3 that I have listed here from Raoul Powell, go into great detail to explain a macro view of what are very highly probable outcomes for the global economies and capital markets. And of course, if you want that daily fix, I participate as a member in studio on a YouTube channel called Crypto and Coffee with Nick Black, where we discuss macroeconomics, cryptocurrencies, the latest news of the day. We'd love to have you join that live stream and contribute through the chat if that's something that you're interested in. That's every day at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, at least Monday through Friday. Now, The one takeaway, and I did not write it on the page and I should have, is this. When consuming content, if you come up against a term that you don't understand, or think you have an understanding but couldn't define it accurately to a friend in one sentence, hit Google, type in the term, and learn about it. Go back to the video that you were watching that you saw it in and apply your new understanding to derive a context for the meaning. It has helped my financial IQ and increased my financial literacy to be able to understand terms that I did not understand in the past. Let's get to the good stuff. When I take a look at the market today, and I'm just looking at the price, I draw one conclusion. However, framed in a macroeconomic lens, right? I'm looking through it from a like 30,000 feet above, trying to take into account history and probabilistic outcomes for the future. I take a wider view. Obviously, taking a look at all-time highs in the crypto, you can see very easily which of these assets has greater growth potential. Now, obviously, there are other factors that come into play: management teams, use case, how much traction in the industry do they have? Do they have signed partnerships? Do they have a working product? Is their product already in commercial flow? Are there applications being built on the protocols that are actually being used by other people? Have those applications or protocols or use cases shown increased or decreased adoption over a period of time? Well, I will tell you folks, that's why I continue to come back to XRP. When I look at the growth potential of XRP just to get back to its all-time high, and I had $1 today to invest, am I going to put $1 into Bitcoin that has only got a double increase of my value if it were to reach its all-time high? Or do I look at XRP where I see almost a 2,000% increase to its all-time high? Which has the greater return on investment? Am I looking at projects like Cardano that not only has an incredible percentage of growth just to get back to its all-time high, but does it pass this, the test really? Have I analyzed the leadership team? Have I analyzed its use case? What ancillary entities are in place? One of the things I really loved about Ripple was its, the donations that it made to universities to stimulate and increase curriculum around blockchain technologies. I can't see that would have a negative effect on the ecosystem, but yet a very positive one. Well, I look at Cardano and they're doing very similar things. Cardano has got itself educating folks in Africa, an area where human capital is valuable. They're attracting the brightest minds in that region to learn to code and apply these sciences to use cases that the entire world will benefit from. Now, I really want to talk about kind of where we are now, what I see going on from a macro view. And it's important to have a context and understanding of the velocity of money to understand the value proposition that digital assets play in the evolution of these capital markets and these quote unquote global economies. The velocity of money is the frequency at which one unit of currency is used to purchase domestically produced goods and services within a given time period. In other words, It's the number of times $1 is spent to buy goods and services per unit of time. Having an understanding of the velocity of money and then taking a look at what is really going on, we can start to assign probabilities for outcomes. Now, keep in mind, over the last 12 years, since the 2008 financial crisis, you and I have not gotten richer. Not really. But those in monster entities that manage money, use money, leverage money, have seen incredible wealth creation. Incredible wealth creation. Digital assets present you and I an opportunity to sit at a table that was only available to a very small few. Let's get into what's happening today. This is a quick chart on the S&P 500 earnings growth for second quarter 2020. Take a look at the absolute demise of growth. Now, this is not just the US. Although I don't have the charts to present to you, this is happening all over the globe. Now, I want to draw your attention to a video that I did not too long ago called Liquidity versus Solvency. Now, I was trying to make the case where solvency was the real value proposition for Ripple, expanding its reach throughout the globe. But it is important to understand that with all the liquidity that the Fed is providing our what we call prime brokers, these banks that are supposed to be encouraged to stimulate lending. Lending is meant to stimulate growth. It isn't happening. And there's a very small chance that it will happen. If you're boots on the ground in an industry that has anything to do with debt, you see this is true. For those Mr. B's out there who are real estate brokers, they're seeing lending criteria tighten and tighten and tighten. You're looking at debt metrics all over the planet with increasing default rates. Let's go back to the velocity of money. If people aren't buying cars, buying houses, spending excess cash, you're not going to have growth. Keep in mind, big corporates have not invested in growth. What they've invested in is their own stock, inflating the value of their corporations without providing any real value. There is a major solvency issue coming, folks. Remember, liquidity is a short-term solution to cash restraints. It does not help in the long run. The only cure for the issue that we have in our economies is growth. Solvency of the world's economies is about growth. Are we growing? Waistlines notwithstanding. I'm not talking about do you need to go out and get a pair of 36-inch waist pants because the 34s aren't fitting anymore because you've been on the couch not working. That isn't at all what I'm talking about. I'm talking about our companies investing in R&D, creating new products that add more value to users and having those products purchased. Interesting. Let us move on. Ripple keeps gaining ground in this global marketplace of value transfer. We see it in the news all the time, and how do we connect the pieces of this 3D puzzle? Well, I think in this particular PDF, the last mile playbook for global payments, Ripple is actually telling us how they're going to do it. It's important that if you are absolutely interested in really learning about the key value proposition that Ripple is offering the financial markets of the world, the economies of the world, you got to dive into documents like this. Or you can listen to me for 5 minutes and try to get an overview of it and move on. It's completely your choice. There are a lot of countries that are being absolutely decimated by the strength of the US dollar. Because so much of the world debt is denominated in US dollars, it's forcing countries to borrow more and more US dollars that have to come back to the US. They call it the dollar milkshake theory, and it was created, this theory, by Brent Johnson. It's got some great stuff on Real Vision, but you can just type in Brent Johnson milkshake theory or dollar milkshake theory and find 5 or 6, 7, 8, 9 different videos where he goes into great detail to explain the actual mechanics of this thesis. It's great information if you want to understand how money moves around the world and the value in juxtaposition of the US dollar relative to other countries. It's an absolute must learn. When we get into these countries and we take a look at what Ripple is presenting, and for instance, every one of these countries have what they call a winning moves section. I'll read Argentina's for you. Get ahead of the FX regulations and liquidity management to protect your margins. Australia, be ready to connect to NPP for a competitive edge if and when it becomes widely available for straight-through processing of cross-border payments. Brazil, work with a local clearing agent that has an FX partner set up for your business use case. Colombia, providing real-time settlement or certainty or arrival. Wow. Would differentiate you against your competition. That's right. We're going to be better than you and we're going to beat you in the marketplace. I love that stuff. How about Europe? For a competitive edge, access SEPA Instant for real-time payments. India, ensure optimal payment experience at competitive prices for a cost-conscientious consumer base. Mexico, optimize liquidity management for payouts into Mexico to protect against currency volatility. Oh, Nigeria. Wow. Given Nigeria's strictly controlled FX market and multiple parallel rates, protect your FX and payout provider set. I'm not even really sure what that means. I'm going to have to go research that. I'm going to Google right after this video. Peru. With over half the population unbanked, access to cash payouts is key. Oh, the Philippines. Cash payouts via pawn shops are preferred remittance payout channel. Yeah, let's get those people away from the pawn shops. Get them on a smartphone. Get them on a Zoom wallet and get this sucker going. Poland, for a competitive edge with instant last mile settlement, leverage Express Elixir for low value payments as opposed to Elixir. Again, I have no idea what that means. I'm going to be busy on Google after this video. Thailand, access prompt pay for the most efficient last mile remittance payouts. Oh, the UK, our brothers from across the pond. Connect to FPS to provide transparent, real-time, and low-cost payments. And lastly, the United States, Big Daddy. Provide transparency for FX and USD payments, pricing, and the payment status for a competitive edge. Remember MUFG signing up to Ripple last year? Tell me Ripple isn't positioning itself to literally circumvent SWIFT. It always comes back to when, right? Well, I don't know when, but I can tell you I see the bricks being built. You got Banco Rendimento is in Brazil. They've been signed up since January of 2019. They've joined the cloud service. Good things look like they're coming because remember, I talked about in a previous video, all it's going to take is a couple of central banks who have real-time gross settlement systems to link up together to watch this sucker go. Now, we know that the Saudi Arabian Monetary Authority has been a Ripple client for a while, and they've been using Xcurrent. But keep in mind, they have so far been the only RippleNet partner using RippleNet. We knew that the Bank of England was a partner, but they weren't using RippleNet. To the best of my knowledge, they were a partner. They did proof of concepts, but they weren't actually using it. Come on, Brits, get it together. Write your prime minister, write your politicians. Let's put email and Twitter to use and get those guys on board. The Central Bank of Brazil. We talked about this in great detail. I just breezed by it. But you can see the stones are being laid. Our money. Now, our money is an exchange in India. India is starting to come around to this. They've listed their quote unquote safe, wonderful cryptocurrencies. What do we got here? Who's this? I recognize this company. This is XRP. I've heard they do good things. I'm really liking that whole complete processing 1 to 5 minute action. I can't impress upon you enough to take some time, learn about how things work so that you can better see how what's coming will fit. This is an incredible journey we're on. And at some point, the value that's being created will be mirrored in the retail markets in which our assets are being priced. It's been a joy expanding my reach in this community, expanding the incredible ecosystem that we are all a part of. I'm going to leave you with a little something from some of the dearest people I know in the San Francisco Bay Area. Some of you may have heard of them. I want to say thank you. And from Costa Rica, Pura Vida. Ciao.